He should be in Iceland right around now.
I think so.
Yeah.
Mr. Owens, are you okay with running the meeting? I know George has volunteered to do so before. I'm happy to do it, but just thought I'd offer that.
No problem. I've run them before.
Copy that.
You're the expert at Zoom, though.
Yeah, I'll take care of that. Melinda's got my back on that.
Okay.
Got it covered.
But you need to make me a co-host if you want me to help.
I thought I did so already. Here we go.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Change my name.
Right, well, it is 7:01. Go ahead and get started if that's all right. And just so everyone knows, we are recording the meeting.
So James, do you want to do the roll call?
Yep, do you want to call the meeting to order?
Okay. It's what, July 14th. I call the ES-MAC meeting to order.
So I'll go ahead and take the roll. No Tom Lang, Tom Owens,
Here.
Jim Herman. Saw Jim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm here.
Good to go. Dr. McLean. Joe Serapicillo. No, actually, we probably won't get Joe tonight. I think he's with his family. Mickey Norris.
Here.
George Cleveland.
Yep.
Miss Shirley. I think I saw you. There it is, Miss Shirley. Okay. Emily Whelan. I don't see Emily. Okay. We do have a quorum.
That's a good thing. So do we have any of our presenters available?
Yep. Do you want to? I can give the treasurer's report is $3,000.
Okay.
And I did, when I sent the agenda on Friday, I included the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I can't be the
Yeah.
to make the motion.
Second,
Was
So,
that George making the
Yeah.
motion to accept the minutes as presented?
yes, I moved and Melinda seconded.
Okay. Is any discussion? You want to do, yes, Mickey?
I just have a question. Where did the money come from for in the treasury that we have?
It's
Vegas,
allocated to the max every year.
from
Oh.
Vegas. We went gambling and won in Vegas. No, I'm kidding.
Strike that, George.
I said I was kidding. So,
So we have a motion and a second.
You want to do the roll? Or do you want?
Yep, I'll take the roll. Tom,
Aye.
Jim,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
aye.
Mickey,
Aye.
George,
aye.
Miss Shirley. You can give me a thumbs up, Miss Shirley, if you approve of the minutes. Okay, we'll put Miss Shirley down as, I'll get her vote later then. The minutes are approved.
Okay. For some reason, I'm not seeing everyone on the screen. So I don't know if we have any of our presenters available.
Yep, we do have Lieutenant Buford. He's here from the sheriff, from the Fire Protection District. I think I saw Assistant Chief Gage. From the Highway Patrol, Officer Leviste is here. Meredith Gerhardt, who's presenting, she is also here. I saw Jacqueline and I'm here.
Do them in order. I guess we'll start with the sheriff's office, Lieutenant Buford. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there we
Good
go.
evening. I'm sorry about that. I was trying to hit the unmute button. Good evening, everyone. If you know Lieutenant Buford. So not much. You guys had a slight rise in calls for service. Last month, month before you had 597. Last month you had 670, 73. The good thing of that is it's more, it's good as bad. It's not a lot of crimes against per persons, but there's a slight uptick in crimes against property. What we're seeing, the main thing now is a lot of catalytic converters. However, the good thing is today we were able to make an arrest in El Sobrante for an individual who was actually attempting to steal a catalytic converter today, and we was able to catch him. So that's really, like I said, it's really about it. We expect to see the rise, as things open back up and it's warm outside. So, nothing out of the norm that is now 670, nothing to be alarmed at all. With that, I'll start with accepting questions from the board.
Any questions from any board member? Looks like we're going to open it up to the audience. Any questions from the audience for Lieutenant Buford?
don't see
Lieutenant Buford,
I do have one question.
okay.
Obviously we had a whole lot of illegal fireworks. Were you all able to catch any of those people?
Be honest with you, right now, to my knowledge, I haven't seen any reports that anyone was arrested or cited for fireworks.
Okay, all right. Just curious, because I know that it was kind of insane over the last couple of weekends.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Sona. I live off of San Pablo Dam Road. I was just wondering, just reading on Facebook, in news media about the fireworks, some counties, some cities, they had good control over illegal fireworks by having drones to catch the offenders. Have you heard of that? Is that a possibility for our area? I was just curious to hear what other cities are doing.
I'm not aware of what other cities are doing, but that is a possibility, ma'am, that we do have the capability to put up drones. Yes.
I think this was done in Antioch, and people were saying how quieter their neighborhoods were this year.
Okay, I'll take that down as, thank you for that. I'll take that down and pass it on to a couple of our drone operators as a possibility. We can probably deploy them when we get the calls for service for fireworks.
But then I don't know I think that's where the breakdown may be, because you're not always going to get the call. People don't always know who to report to. And then there may be other priorities before you can tend to the call. I was just thinking more like a surveillance during those few days of high risk.
I'm not sure if we'll just put our drones up for just pure surveillance, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyone else? Not seeing anyone. I want to thank Lieutenant Buford then.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Oh, no, that's Harry just waving goodbye. And did we have someone from the fire district?
Yeah. Assistant Chief Gage.
Oh, la.
You certainly do.
Welcome
Hey, how
back.
are you,
It's been a
Tom?
while, Lon.
Yeah. You're welcome. So, good evening, everyone, to James and the MAC members. My name is Lon Gage. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief. I'm an Assistant Fire Chief for Contra Costa County Fire. My current assignment is I'm the Training and Safety Chief for the district. One of my assignments is to be a point of contact for the fire district to the city of San Pablo and all the West County municipal advisory committees. So I'll just jump into some updates and some reports. And I heard some of the discussion about fireworks. And yes, I would completely agree with you that it was out of control as it's becoming the norm, unfortunately. We took quite a few efforts, which I'll review as I move through the report. So overall, as we are in fire season, I updated the MAC last month, but essentially due to the drought and the weather conditions, we're we're seeing conditions that are more like late August as opposed to, late July. So it is, we're fully a month ahead of time. The fuels are absolutely dried out. Everything is available to burn. Last week, we just had incredibly high temperatures. This week, it's been absolutely gorgeous and great weather. But the bottom line is our fire conditions are just going to continually get worse as we move through fire season. We had two significant fires last week, vegetation fires. We had a fire in excess of 75 acres in the Kirker Pass area, and then we had a fire of approximately 40 acres on the former naval weapons base in Concord. We were able to bring those fires under control without any significant property damage or injuries to citizens. We're continuing to upstaff as much as possible. I hope you can hear me. If you can't hear me, please someone speak.
I also want to thank.
You're good to
We
go.
can hear you.
Sounds like I got some background noise. Just want to make sure that you can hear me. We have upstaffed our wildland hand crew 12. So we have a new resource this year of basically 10 to 15 hand crew firefighters supervised by 2 captains, available 7 days a week. And that's been a great resource for us to assist us in responding to vegetation fires. We're also in the process of bringing up Conair 1 to be able to provide us with bucket work from a helicopter here locally. They've been going through some maintenance issues, which anyone's familiar with the helicopter, they're very temperamental and require a lot of maintenance. But we're working on trying to get that resource in the air and available to assist us throughout fire season. We recently opened our new fire station in San Pablo at 23rd Market. We're preparing to add 2 additional firefighters to that station. So the station staffing is coming up to 7 firefighters on duty, 3 on the engine, 4 on the ladder truck. We expect the ladder truck to be in service sometime in the month of August. Squad that about the last 6, 7. That additional staffing is in partnership with the city of San Pablo. 4th of July, historically one of the busiest days in the fire district. It was also a very busy day this year. Our weather conditions were severe. We do quite a few things on 4th of July to make sure that we can effectively respond to the multitude of calls that we get on 4th of July. So we stand up what's called our Department Operations Center. We call in all available firefighters, myself included. This year I was assigned to oversee the East County Division in Operations, which traditionally is one of the busiest areas of the county. We basically responded to 58 fires between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and that's probably about at least 20 times the normal that we would respond to within a period of time of 3 hours. We upstaffed additional hand crews. We had a second bulldozer available. We reorganized county engines that were able to participate in task forces so we can respond to larger incidents effectively. I'm glad to say our operational plan worked. We didn't have any real significant fires. We had one fire that started in the city of Martinez that extended to a couple of outbuildings, but we had no significant structure fires or significant wildland fires during 4th of July night. Unfortunately, we've just seen a continuance of illegal fireworks use throughout pretty much before the days of a couple days before 4th of July, and continues until now. And unfortunately, we had 2 structures, 2 residential structures that were significantly damaged just the day before yesterday due to illegal fireworks. We have done quite a bit of work in coordination with our police agencies, and I can't imagine for residents how frustrating this is, because it's frustrating for me as a firefighter. We We have, at Confire, we have a staffed fire investigations unit. So we have a 24-hour fire investigator backed up by supervisors, backed up by a 40-hour fire investigator. And during the days prior to 4th of July, our investigators are out there actively making by bus operations where basically they found people on social media offering fireworks, and we arrested them. And we conducted at least 5 different operations, seized hundreds of pounds of illegal fireworks. Our partners in law enforcement, including Lieutenant Buford, all took a more positive stance towards trying to do what we could to get the message out to the public that all fireworks were illegal, try to eliminate those illegal fireworks that were coming in, but with the broom, the use of fireworks were just as bad as I've seen in my 20 years here in Contra Costa County. We need to go back to the drawing board to see how we can quell this. And it is a high priority for us. We did public education, we did enforcement. We obviously coordinate our response to make sure we mitigate the risks that our community faces from these fireworks, but the use is absolutely out of control. One of the big issues that the fire district is working on right now is we are in an annexation study that is actually in part 2 now to analyze the feasibility of Contra Costa Fire bringing in the Rodeo Hercules Fire District and the East Contra Costa Fire District within Contra Costa Fire. So where we stand in that process is we went through a phase 1 feasibility study that analyzed the finances related to that proposed annexation, and the contractor that provided us with the annexation study just completed part 2 of that study. Unfortunately, the Board of Supervisors were supposed to receive the first reading of that annexation study yesterday, and due to just an absolutely very busy agenda of other items and public comment, we were unable to provide that report officially to the board. But I just saw today that that report has been rescheduled for the July 20th board meeting. I was trying to download the report because it's actually in 2 parts and it's over 400 pages. So I was trying to download the report so I could post it in the chat or get you a link to that report. I highly recommend that everyone take a look at that annexation study and provide feedback to Supervisor Joya. It's a very large endeavor for the fire district. I will get links of that report to James and ask him to forward it to everyone on the meeting that would like to review that. Our Fire Prevention Bureau update, our inspectors were out in force during 4th of July. They were at all the different fireworks shoots. So there was a fireworks shoot in Antioch, Concord, and Pleasant Hill to try to provide a safe way for everyone to enjoy fireworks. Our fire investigators, as I mentioned, conducted numerous undercover investigations with the goal of trying to get as much of the illegal fireworks off the streets as possible. We're otherwise do illuminations projects and other planning methods to basically improve the safety in the city of Lafayette. Communications, we're in the process of moving our communication center. We're going to actually move it to a different part of the property. That was where our former headquarters was, so we can expand our 911 center to be able to better serve our growing fire district. COVID-19 update. I'm glad to report that the rate of infection or any impacts to Contra Costa Fire has significantly decreased now that the vaccine is widely available. We are monitoring daily, keeping an eye on our personnel. We continue to operate within some guidance to make sure that we're protecting ourselves. We always respond to emergency medical services calls with masks to make sure that everyone's protected. But we've been able to relax some of those requirements in the workplace, which is a welcome relief to our firefighters. That is the end of the report, unless there's any questions. Thank you, James.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board for questions. If anyone on the board wants to speak up, just do so.
I don't see any questions, any hands up. From the audience, I saw Sohaila and then Harry.
Yep. So
Thank
Harry,
you.
okay, so here.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And thank you for the great presentation. I wonder if the fire danger signs are ready to be installed in El Sobrante yet.
I wasn't aware that we had an initiative for fire danger signs within El Sobrante. Could you give me some background?
Sorry, yes, we talked to Chief Burchard and long time ago last year. And he ordered them, and apparently they were made of wood, and they reordered them made of metal, and they were supposed to be ready around this time. And we asked for at least 2 to be installed on San Pablo Dam Road and 1 on Appian Way.
Got it. Let me follow up on that project. I'll get an update to James so we can get you an exact ETA on when those signs are going to be installed.
Thank you,
Wonderful.
Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sohaila.
Mhm.
Harry, and then Tanya.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention that the Great Spirit brought fog into my neighborhood during the 4th of July debacle, and I'm sure that made our our safety, kept our area safe from fire. And I also wanted to thank Chief Gage for sending out an inspection crew for the Green Ridge Trail. I don't know what they found, but that they went out there and checked it out to make sure that it was passable is a lot of something off my mind. So thank you very much, Chief Gage.
Okay, Tanya?
Hi, thank you so much. My name's Tanya Little. I'm a resident of Hercules. And so my question, Chief Gage, is you mentioned that the Rodeo Hercules Fire District was being studied as part of the annexation. And my question is, did you also study the financial feasibility for that?
Yes, actually, Tanya, that was the first part of the report. So the initial phase of the report was to analyze the financial feasibility of the annexation. And that was very heavily looked at because that's kind of step 1. So that study was completed, and the results of the study was that the annexation was financially feasible for all 3 districts: Contra Costa Fire, Rodeo Hercules, and East Contra Costa.
And if I can ask follow-up question is what, in the feasibility study with regards to the financial stability, how many years, and if you can kind of talk about what years were looked at, and was there a projection for future years and how long?
Sure, that's a great question. So the scope of work for the consultant was to look out 5 years for all the agencies involved. The report is extremely detailed. I don't want to try to summarize it, so I'd be happy to provide that to you. But the overall analysis of the financial feasibility was that the annexation was feasible for all 3 agencies.
Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland? George.
Yes, sir. Chief Gage, how are you?
Really good, George. What's up?
Well, the question, because it just popped into my head and I forgot to ask it a little earlier. What impacts would this annexation have, if it goes through, on the service levels that we have currently for our part of Con Fire here in El Sobrante?
Okay, so that's a good question. I took my video off just to make sure my audio was better.
Okay.
So how this affects West County is that it would not provide for any additional resources than we have right now. But what it would do is for most on the MAC, in West County, we basically have a shared battalion concept where Con Fire has 2 fire stations, one in El Sobrante, one in San Pablo. We provide a battalion chief that covers C shift. Pinole has a fire station and they have a battalion chief and they cover B shift. And Rodeo Hercules has 2 fire stations and a battalion chief and they cover A shift. So under that shared battalion, I think we might see better service and training levels because we will be one agency. So that by our training, provide more resources out to West County, including Rodeo and Hercules. It would enable them to utilize in Rodeo Hercules our bulldozer, hand crews, a lot of the additional resources that we can provide as a larger agency, the smaller agency can in Rodeo Hercules. So that's essentially the difference and the changes and the improvements that we would see in West County.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Okay, is any last chance for anyone to ask more questions? I don't see any hands up. So I want to thank Chief Gates for his presentation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Tom. Really nice to see you.
Same here. And we'll move on to presentation 3 by the California Highway Patrol Officer. Tim, I think I saw you out there.
I'm here. I'm here.
And
Can
by the way,
everybody
I saw you earlier this afternoon giving
Yeah.
notification.
We've been very, very busy. We've been very, very busy. Let me start off with some statistics that were requested from last month that I was able to gather. There was a question as to the number of traffic collisions or fatal traffic collisions pertaining to San Pablo Dam Road in the last few years. In 2019, we had 2. One of which was a wrong-way driver. I was the investigating officer in that particular traffic collision. And a second one was a pedestrian that was crossing outside of a crosswalk. That was 2019. In 2020, we had an additional 2 fatalities, one of which was speed-related. And the second was, again, a pedestrian crossing out of the crosswalk. And for 21, we have the one for speed. And I briefly spoke about it the last meeting. It was unfortunate circumstance where somebody was crossing, again, outside of the crosswalk, but it was the time of day that was a factor. The driver was driving into the sun and couldn't see the pedestrian crossing. So for the last 3 years, we've had 5 fatal traffic collisions on San Pablo Dam Road. And speed and pedestrians crossing out of the crosswalk were the main reasons for those collisions. Now, let's move on to enforcement. Your cries have been heard loud and clear. I continue to receive almost daily emails about traffic complaints, and those traffic complaints are going straight up the chain, and it's ruffling some feathers up at my management. We initially deployed our speed radar trailer down on San Pablo Dam Road. I think I got it out there for maybe a week or a little bit more than a week. I placed it there near the speed limit change. We'll call it westbound near Milton, and then I placed it again a little bit further up towards the La Honda area. Unfortunately, while it was out there, it looks like the trailer was vandalized. And there was substantial damage, and the repair costs are a little high. So we're looking at what it takes to get that back operational and back out onto the field. But unfortunately, that's not going to be coming back anytime soon.
Messed up.
Yeah. And then particular complaint areas. The first one I want to talk about is Hilltop. Speed on Hilltop, just we'll call it just east of the freeway or south of the freeway. I spent several days working speed. I sat at the church parking lot near the intersection of Santa Maria. A number of traffic or speed citations were issued. Another issue that was brought up for that particular area was donuts, individuals doing donuts. Now, that particular complaint actually kind of stemmed from my my being there. The particular vehicle that was brought to my attention, I did notice that vehicle, and the driver obviously knew I was there, and he just kind of drove up and down until I was preoccupied with another violator, and then he would go and do his thing. And obviously by the time I would make it over there, he was gone. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game at this point. I know the vehicle, I know a general description of the driver, and it's just a matter of me catching him in the act. But unfortunately, this is a particular person's kind of using my being preoccupied with other violators to kind of take advantage of this situation. But it's something that I'm still working on. The next spot that was a topic was Hilltop at Renfrew. That's the stop sign over there. It seems like I go out there and I'll write a couple tickets, and then people start behaving, and then it's just a matter of me like disappearing for a few days, and then coming back, because it's like a big cycle. It goes back and forth. So I do spend a little bit of time out there, and again, as soon as I make 1 or 2 stops, the rest of the evening at that location tends to dry up for me. So I do make random trips out that way, and it still continues to be on my radar. The next spot was Pebble near Driftwood. Now this was an interesting one. That particular block, it's not very long, and it's got a relatively steep downward grade there as you're coming from Hilltop. I positioned myself in several locations there, and because there's very tight turns at both the bottom and the top of the hill, by the time I come into view, they're not speeding yet. So I found myself more of a visual deterrent. I was unable to make any traffic stops because by the time the speeds were anywhere near the speed limit, they had already seen me. And that was even with me trying to hide, behind some other vehicles and whatnot. But I did make several trips out there in an attempt to make a difference. And it seems like it's a tough spot to do enforcement, unfortunately. But I did make several trips out there. The 2 major locations where enforcement on San Pablo Dam Road are being conducted are right there near Milton, near the speed limit change from 40 to 25. And then I've also been sitting right at the scene of the pedestrian fatality crash that we had a couple months back, right there at Pheasant. And a large amount of speeding tickets are being issued. I'm not the only one that's working out there. Other officers are working out there, and it's nonstop out there. I've introduced several officers who've never worked the area to that location, and their comments to me were that it was just too easy out there. So we're going to continue to work in that area, and which brings me to my last topic here, which is what we call our SEU. Now, the CHP, our office, the Contra Costa area office, has seen our staffing levels have gotten a little bit better in the last few months. And with that, we are able to take a handful of other officers or officers from the beats and put them specifically out in troubled areas for enforcement. So what that means is we usually take about 2 officers for the entire month, and those 2 officers just roam around to different problem areas, and that is their entire job, is just writing tickets. They don't have to respond to calls or crashes or anything like that. They just write tickets. They have been tasked with visiting San Pablo Dam Road at least for a couple hours every day. On top of that, our staffing levels have also allowed us to do a weekly enforcement day. What that means is we take anywhere from 10 to 14 officers off the road from taking calls and just enforcement, primarily speed enforcement. So again, when it comes to complaints, when you send me those emails for the complaints, those get printed out and they get logged, and the SEU team gets sent to these problem areas. So please continue to send those emails because that kind of fuels this SEU team and gives them an idea of where they need to go in addition to all the information that I give them. I think I touched on everything. Does anybody questions from the board?
The board. Anyone?
I just wanted to say I was glad to see you out there on San Pablo Dam Road. I think near Pheasant Lane. I caught a glimpse of an officer with a radar gun, and I was happy to see that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, that location at Pheasants that was a new spot for me. I didn't start working that area until after this fatality traffic collision, and that's where I'm actually getting some of the outrageous speeds. I don't know if some of you saw, we have a Instagram and a Facebook account, and I got some pretty outrageous speeds from that location. So I'm going to continue to work that spot. I mean, it's been working out for me.
Officer Leviste, thank you for your work on Hilltop Drive. That's a good spot. I'm hoping perhaps it could be expanded westbound towards the freeway overpass, maybe in conjunction with sheriff and with the Richmond PD, because I noticed that when I'm coming home or just coming from Hilltop, whatever, and going over the freeway, the speed limit there, I think is either 35 or 40. And it's interesting. And the reason I say the Richmond police is that I'll observe a lot of people that are flying up the hill and they're taking a left into Hilltop Green. So they're either live there or they're visiting there or they have business there. And so that's why I included Richmond PD, because that's actually the city of Richmond. But it's a good start, and hopefully you can catch that expletive deleted who is teasing you. And he thinks it's cute.
Yeah, he's definitely asking to be talked to.
Yeah, it's like, well, what is the? I don't understand the purpose of that. It's like, hey, look at me, police! Ha ha! You can't catch me! Ha.
Yeah, I think that's more of a social
grow up
issue.
Grow up.
Yeah.
But I thank you for your support and the work on Hilltop. Hopefully that'll calm things down a little bit. And the other thing about moving it a little bit further westbound, also, I think I mentioned in the previous, is that when you're going eastbound, as you are just after you approach the entrance to the Memorial Park, you're going up a bit of a ridge, and it's a little bit of a blind spot when you're trying to make a left turn from El Centro from El Centro onto Hilltop. It's not quite as bad as at Santa Maria, but it's a little bit of a blind spot. So you're pulling out and you think, oh, I can go. And then suddenly there's this car looming and you're like on your side, and it's like, yeah, I already had my car broadsided on Memorial Day weekend. Once is enough. So not here. That was elsewhere. And I also got to meet CHP in the Sierra Foothills. Nice guys. But thank you for your work, and please keep up the good work, because the more presence there is, the less speeding there will be, and the less chance of accidents. Because there was an accident at the I-80, the off ramp going, well, I would say it's like on 80 eastbound. It's actually north. There was an accident there. I came across it. It just happened. I just missed it. And there was a car that was like broadsided in the middle of the intersection. The other car was off the side. It was a bit of a mess. So, but the more we have, the less chance there'll be messes with that. So thank you again. I'm done talking.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'll be sure to check out that closer to El Centro area. Usually when I pick my locations, it's all about not only how well I can kind of blend in with the scenery, but also where I can safely make some of these traffic stops. Like there on Hilltop, if you go further east, it's so congested with residential areas, and the topography just makes it very difficult to do any kind of enforcement. That's why I use that Santa Maria location. But I'll take a look at that El Centro area and see if there's anywhere that will work for me as far as enforcement up there.
Thank you very much.
I also see there was also a question about some traffic collisions. If there's anything that you wanted to ask, I see there was a question about a specific traffic collision recently. I see your email in the chat. I will research that, and I'll try to get a response to you as soon as I can.
And Sona has a question. Go ahead, Sona.
Hi, Officer Levici. First of all, on behalf of our San Pablo Dam Road Safety Task Force, I want to thank you for your hard work, and you always follow through. And our task force is very appreciative of your support. And not only, it was nice to hear from you that, our calls helped with the staffing, and it's nice to hear about all the surveillance you're doing. And a lot of neighbors are feeling that way too. We've gotten emails and messages that there are fewer, I don't know, I feel like I've run into fewer reckless drivers lately. So thanks for all that work. But I am concerned that it is taking this much labor for you to do the surveillance. And as soon as like you mentioned, as soon as people don't see you, they continue the same bad behavior. So I'm thinking if something like a permanent flashing sign that Orinda has, maybe something like that can help. That way your resources are not overused with something that can be handled by having permanent device or some surveillance system. And then that's all on my list for you. And thanks for the data on those collisions.
Yeah, you're welcome. As far as the speed sign, that's a little bit out of my control. I think that's more for the county roads, but I believe that those things work. I know we do have one of those further up Dam Road, closer towards the towards Orinda, but that's maybe James can chime in on that one as far as getting one of those permanent speed signs.
One of as the traffic engineer will be taking a look at that. I don't have an ETA on that, okay. But we're looking at some other another study on San Pablo Dam Road that we'll be throwing some things out there, but for sure the lights is definitely something. And there's a distinction between the lights, the flashing lights, and like a speed feedback sign. So the request is to, I know everybody wants the speed feedback sign, but maybe the flashing lights, maybe something that's easier to be done or what have you. So that is sort of how I modified your request on it that you made last month, I think, for that, was that we know everybody wants the speed feedback sign, but if we can get flashing lights, we'll certainly inch towards the speed feedback sign. But I did ask about the flashing lights, and they are taking a look.
James, thanks for that update. I wanted to ask you if that study can include the average speed on this road and at least 2 to 3 different zones, because some of us, even the task force members who are so concerned about speeding, even we feel like going from 40 to 25 near the downtown can be hard, can be challenging. Even some of us are not really going 25 or driving 30 to 35. So maybe this study can include that also. So then maybe a new speed limit. Maybe people are asking for a better speed limit. minus the offenders, no matter what.
Thank you, Sona.
I have one more thing, then I will stop. Just for everyone, our task force is in the process of writing a survey for the community, and we will use Nextdoor platform to distribute the survey. We're gonna ask maybe about 2 to 3, 4 simple questions about how much do they know about calling the CHP, how much, what their speed limit is. So we'll give you more update next time. We just want to assess their knowledge so then we can do some community outreach with those results. Thank you.
I like it. I like it. Brooke.
Hi, thank you. I also wanted to say thank you so much, Officer Leviste. You and I were just emailing earlier today, and I live right next to where you have been stopped there. You said that you and other people have been planted there. Right next to, I basically live right next to the church and where that memorial is. So we definitely are noticing that and really, really appreciate it. And it's also good to hear feedback that I'm not crazy, because it's constant. The speed outside our driveway is constant. And so to hear that a whole bunch of tickets are being given out and that people are stationed here, it's good to know, because I don't even know, I'm going to keep reporting specific incidents, but without a radar gun, it's just no matter what time of day, some times of day it's heavier traffic than others, but the speeding, it's just nuts. So
yeah, the speed I think will always continue, unfortunately. But when with the feedback like we spoke about on the emails, if you were to jot down just a time of day, that helps us find out or figure out what times to best deploy our resources out there, because it's hard for us to just leave our resources out there the entire day, and then sometimes we're very effective and sometimes we're just kind of sitting there, sitting on our hands. So if we were to narrow down when the best times for us to be out there, that's the kind of information and data that we need.
Okay, that's great. Another thought that I've had, so I'm originally from Oregon. I don't know how common it is in California, but what's been used up there a lot, and pretty much everybody I know has gotten a photo ticket. It sounds like it's really expensive to have people actually on site, and just wondering if that's a cost-effective solution, maybe higher up so the flashing lights can't be vandalized or the radar signs can't be vandalized. That thought entered my head.
I know there's some cities nearby that use that form of enforcement. I'm not aware of anywhere in our county that does that. There are some legal issues with doing photo enforcement because you don't have a physical person there to kind of verify that the offense occurred, and a lot of those cases end up getting tossed in because there is no way to confirm that information. So I don't know how, I don't have the information as how well those photo enforcement systems work legally. Because I know Berkeley was doing it for a little bit, but again, I don't have the statistics and how well they work.
Okay.
I can just say they used to have it in San Francisco, and it was deemed a violation of privacy, and they got rid of all the cameras in San Francisco. There are none in San Francisco because they couldn't make them stick. Oakland used to have it. Oakland has gotten rid of them, and so is Berkeley. So my understanding is that they can't make it stick in California for a variety of legal reasons. So, if San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley can't do it, I doubt we're going to do well.
Right. Wow. Okay, that's good to know. I'm also with the task force, and another thing that we had talked about as a possibility is where the bus stops are having stop signs there or lights there. Like, for instance, the teacher that was killed, he was walking to the bus stop. The man that got killed right next to me. And I know at a couple different locations up and down SPDR, maybe that would be a good spot for them.
Putting stop signs along Dam Road again would go
Probably
down
lights.
to it would go to county roads, because they would have to it's beyond me how they choose where to put stop sign. I know there has to be a lot of research done. You can't just put we can't just put speed bumps everywhere. There has to be there's a lot of research that goes involved, but maybe we can James, maybe we can forward that to county roads.
So Brooke, email me the particular locations you have in mind.
Okay.
And I will send them to the traffic engineer.
Great. Will do. Thank you. I had one more question for Officer Leviste. You mentioned that there's an Instagram and a Facebook group where people were noting traffic violations and things like that. I'm just wondering.
It's more of a it's more of a like a public information account. Let me see if I can find it here. Give me a second. Like it's a CHP_Contra Costa is our office's Instagram account, and I don't have the Facebook one readily available. But it again, that account kind of highlights some of our activities and other things that our office are doing around the county.
Okay, good to know. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I saw George had his hand up.
Yep, and we're going to take just one last question because we do have quite a full agenda.
Yeah.
So George, you did have your hand up.
I changed my mind and put it back down.
Okay. Officer Vista, we want to thank you very much for your efforts.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Again, please continue to send those emails. That's the fuel I use to get the bodies out here, and obviously as I've outlined here, it's working. So let's keep it up.
Excellent. Okay, we'll move on to a presentation by Meredith Gerhardt, Senior Emergency Planning Coordinator, Office of Emergency Services. I did see her name up there.
There we go. Melinda, can you do the spot? Thank you.
There we go.
Hold on just a sec. Okay. She's probably on duty right now.
He's muted.
You all hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes. Yep, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Can you all hear me okay?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yep. Meredith, are you not hearing us?
No, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay.
You'd think that at this point in time, I'd have figured out my Zoom issues, but like every day is an adventure. I don't have that much to talk about. I'll be kind of brief, but I did want to take the opportunity, and I appreciate everyone's time to go over evacuation preparedness for county residents and to answer any questions you all might have to the best of my ability. This is that time of year where we start getting concerned about fire, smoke, air quality, heat and power outages. And I just would really like to encourage everyone, if you aren't already registered, to register with the community warning system to receive alerts. I work for the Office of Emergency Services. We support and coordinate during an evacuation. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what you all can and should be doing to prepare for an evacuation.
When a community is threatened, if El Sobrante is threatened, fire, law, and CWS work together. They communicate through CWS and coordinate to evacuate based on their respective roles and functions in an evacuation. We've done this before, we'll continue doing it, and every time we learn a little bit more and get a little bit better at it. What we ask of you all is that you register to receive alerts so that you get information during an incident, that you have a plan for evacuating when you receive a warning or an order, that you know where to get information about an incident, and that you know the difference between evacuation warnings and evacuation orders. I'd also like to take a minute just to empower everyone and make sure it's really clear that if you smell smoke, or if you see flames, or you just feel unsafe, nobody should wait to be told what to do. At that point, don't call 911, just leave. And verify after the fact that you have, that your area is under an evacuation order. Most importantly, we really need everyone to talk to your neighbors, plan to leave early and together, communicate with one another. If you have trouble evacuating, let law enforcement know who in your neighborhood might have trouble evacuating, because you all know better than we do who might need help. Animals, owners with pets should keep their pets on leashes or crated or ready to leave if there's a fire in the area, or even if there's a red flag warning, just so that you're not in a position of rushing at the last minute and trying to catch, 5 cats in their respective carriers, because I promise they won't want to be caught at that point. A note about repopulation. This is actually the more challenging part of an evacuation process. Everyone will be ready to return home as soon as the threat of a fire is passed, but by law, a number of different agencies need to coordinate and sign off together before an area can be safely reopened. So please be patient until that happens if you are evacuated. Communication during an emergency can be a challenge. Phone lines might be busy. Please try and make alternate plans to communicate with your loved ones. Have a cell phone, have an out-of-state contact person, have a spare cell with a battery charged, and if possible, text, don't call, to minimize the use of data. Finally, know where to get official information about an incident. So go to ConFire's website, go to the CWS website to confirm that an area is or is not under an evacuation order. Plan to share vehicles in an evacuation to minimize the number of vehicles on the road, and please avoid sharing misinformation or hearsay on social media, because it just creates confusion and it can be dangerous for our first responders. So with that, I'll just assure all of you that my office is working closely with law and fire, CWS, and the Red Cross to prepare for wildfires that may cause evacuations. And we're here if you have any questions. We're all going to get through this season together. And I am happy to take any questions that you all might have.
Okay, we'll open it up to the board first. Does any board member have a question? Do a quick scan. I don't see any board members' hands up.
I see Melinda, her hand just popped up.
Okay, Melinda, you're up first.
Thanks so much for coming in to talk to us today, Meredith. Could you talk a little bit about Zone Haven, and is that going to be operational by the time we get to the worst of fire season? I know we're already in fire season, but can you say something about Zone Haven?
Sure. I can't say much about Zone Haven. They just won a contract. They just won their grant with the county. They are working through ConFire. So ConFire is coordinating with Zone Haven. As I understand it, Zone Haven is reaching out individually to jurisdictions and unincorporated areas and working on getting approval for the zones that they've already built for our county. It is a tool. I want to emphasize that it's one tool of many in our toolbox. Evacuations will happen and continue to happen, even if zone haven isn't in place when a fire happens. Is Lon still on?
I don't see him.
Okay, he would be better.
He actually just logged back in.
Okay.
So give him another second and he'll probably pop up.
Sure.
Thanks for that. It seemed to me that when you were talking about the communication thing, Zone Haven looks like it will be one of those things, especially for those of us in unincorporated areas where you have multiple agencies involved and multiple jurisdictions. It seems like something that will be very helpful for us once it's operational. So I was just curious about how far along they are. It sounds like they're still a little ways from being operational.
So even when they are operational, you're not going to be receiving alerts from Zone Haven. Zone Haven is
I know
evacuation zones. So even if they haven't coordinated, there's nothing to preclude law, fire, and CWS from working together efficiently the way they have over the past several years. So it's nice. It's a nice tool to have. We're looking forward to having them and incorporating them. But not having them in place is not creating a dangerous situation. I want to emphasize that.
Okay. I think Deputy Chief Gates is back on now.
Yes, I am back on. I apologize. I had some really bad Wi-Fi, so I was unable to hear any of Meredith's presentation, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
The Chief Gates, the question from Melinda was regarding Zone Haven, where we are in the process of them establishing zones for El Sobrante.
That's a great question. So I'm sure Meredith has briefed you on the overall project. So what we are doing now countywide between the fire district and all of our law enforcement partners, which in El Sobrante's case would be the Sheriff's Department, is we are looking at the zones that Zone Haven has established and making sure that those are valid, looking at a lot of the different items in their traffic control points, evacuation routes, things like that, so we can provide kind of our professional expertise to validate those zones. So there are meetings being scheduled. I don't have an exact ETA on when that'll be done.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks so much.
And thank you for whoever put the CWS alerts registration in the comments.
That was Melinda. And we've got Sohaila and then Zia or Zaya. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Sohaila.
Thank you. Thank you, Meredith, for the wonderful presentation as usual. If you recall, we asked for a CWS test for a community warning system test because other communities have it. And we were told that it would take a year to prepare for the test, which is very concerning to the community because we may need the actual alert any minute in the fire season, as Melinda just mentioned. So we asked for a test to get into the process and have our first test. We are especially very concerned because we are part city, part county. Are things going to be coordinated? Is there going to be a chaos? We are still waiting for a test of the community warning system for the entire 94803 area, both City of Richmond and unincorporated county. If you could please get that test process started and let us know why it's going to take a whole year.
So I hear your concern. I'm not the community warning system, but I can pass on your request to the community warning system. What I will say is that a test is usually the last step in a coordinated planning process. And that coordination involves law, fire, CWS, and the community. So they're not going to put on a test without that coordination happening to begin with. So the test itself is sort of the icing on the cake. It comes at the end of a registration drive, at the end of a coordinated, concerted effort to drive registration. As I understand it, they have been working on registration in the El Sobrante 94803 area. But I will follow up with Heather Tiernan and Lorena Herrera, who are our community warning system or emergency planners, and ask them to reach out to you directly. So there's some, I think there's some misconception about what the role of a test is in the emergency planning process.
Well, as you said, it's the last step in coordination. So if you can do a test successfully, hopefully that's an assurance that all those entities are coordinated. Last time we brought it up with Supervisor Joya, we suggested that a note would be sent to every property owner along with their property tax bill. And he agreed. Do you have any update on whether it's going to be sent out or?
I don't.
And neither do I, Sohaila, but I'll ask John about that. I was not aware, so I'll talk with
It'd
John.
be great if you could do it, James. Please, if you could follow up and keep us posted on how it goes. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to thank you, Sohaila. You've been a really strong advocate for your community, and I appreciate your keeping us all honest and reminding us where we are and what we've already talked about. So I don't want you to think that I'm brushing you off. I will follow up with CWS. I'm not sure I'm going to get all the answers that you want, but I respect and appreciate your engagement.
Thank you very much, Meredith. Thank you for understanding. We're in this
Oh, I
together.
get it. I get it. I get it. And we need,
holding each other accountable. Thank you.
That's what makes our communities more resilient. That's what's going to help us in the long run. In the short run, though, I have to live and work within the bureaucracy that I live and work in. So I'm going to do my best to facilitate engagement.
Understandable. Thanks.
Any other questions related to evacuation, registration, alert and warning?
And we've got, please say your name, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Zia Horowitz.
Okay, thank you.
And my question, I guess, is related to Sohaila's. I assume that what Sohaila was talking about when she referred to the community warning system or CWS had to do with electronic text message, phone call type system. But I was wondering about the sirens. I worked in Richmond for over 30 years, and I know that every Wednesday, I think it was, there was a test of the community warning sirens that would be used in case of a fire or a Chevron accident. And I know that they're supposed to be still going on, and presumably they would be used for those folks who don't have cell phones. They could be real handy. Also, the last time we had a power emergency, a lot of us lost cell coverage. So my question is two parts, I guess. One, are they still to be deployed in the event of a fire or other catastrophe? And two, those of us who live in some parts of 94803 can only hear the sirens very faintly and only if we're listening for them. I live in Carriage Hills, which is right off Castro Ranch Road, and I happened to hear it very faintly in the distance one morning when nothing else was happening in the house. But, you know, if the dishwasher had been on or, you know, the radio, it would have been completely inaudible. So I'm wondering if you can tell us more about how those sirens are to be used and whether there's going to be any effort to amplify them or bring them closer to other parts of El Sobrante and Richmond.
Sure, Zia, it's a great question. And I appreciate the opportunity to clarify. The sirens are really there for a single purpose, and that's to warn of a petrochemical release, a hazardous materials release, and to tell people to shelter in place. They're not there for wildfire or evacuation. So when you hear a siren, amplifying it for wildfire or evacuation is not going to happen because they're not going to be used for that purpose. They were set up based on proximity to the petrochemical companies along that industrial corridor. So at least in West and Central County, you'll never hear sirens used to signal an evacuation. If you have concerns about not receiving the message, I would encourage you to, first of all, register all of your devices. So register to receive emails, cell phones, and landlines. And then additionally, make sure you have a NOAA weather radio, because in the event of an evacuation, they will probably utilize the federal wireless emergency alert system, and a programmed weather radio will automatically turn on and alert you if you need to evacuate. And those have a really irritating tone, so you can't get away from them.
Okay, thank you for that information. I wasn't aware that it was just reserved for chemical releases. And is that subject to any change, or is that a hard and fast rule?
It's a pretty hard and fast rule. Periodically, we get questions about utilizing them for different types of emergencies. Maybe using a different tone for a tsunami, or the people in Kensington really would like to utilize them for wildfire evacuation. And it's appealing. It's also really problematic, because for decades they have been in place in our county to signify one thing. And given the proximity to petrochemical companies, changing the rules now, it doesn't make sense. It would represent, I think, a greater public safety risk than it would provide a service to. So school children in the county, in the area around the refineries, all train at least once a year to shelter in place when they hear those sirens, and changing the metrics by which they're employed is not a solution that our community warning system is willing to entertain right now. Having said all that, I'm not the community warning system, so I've heard their presentation enough to say that yes, people are going to ask. The answer is probably going to be no, but
okay,
never say never.
Thanks.
One last pitch, if I don't hear any additional questions, to please encourage your friends, neighbors, relatives to sign up for the community warning system, to register not just your home address, but your business address. If you have an elderly neighbor who you think might not receive an alert, you can register on their behalf. I'm registered to receive alerts from my parents who live in Rossmore. So I know if anything is happening that affects their place of residence, and I'll get that alert. You can register up to 3 addresses, and it's just a great source of information. It's the definitive source of information for where is being evacuated and where is not. So please register.
Okay, I don't think we have any more questions. So Meredith, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. It was very informative.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
And we'll now move on to the presentation by Jacqueline Vera. I don't know if there we go. Are you ready, Jacqueline?
Yeah, I'm just putting my presentation in present mode. So I also wanted to introduce myself. My name is Jacqueline Vera, and I'm the coalition coordinator for the West Contra Costa Alcohol Policy Coalition. It's a coalition that focuses on underage marijuana and alcohol youth prevention in West County. And I also brought a youth to come speak as well. And one of our Chen fellows, they can introduce themselves. If Anu or Molly could unmute themselves.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Molly Zhang. I'm a Chen Fellow from Lingnan Foundation. I'm actually from China and here to help BACR work and learn more about community service and cultural differences. So I'm really glad to be here. It's really an honor for me to be here to observe. And I've seen that some teenagers in China become smokers at an early age because we don't have these relative regulations to prevent them from smoking and alcohol, unlike your country. That's why I think the work of BACR staff is really meaningful and it's necessary for the communication between BACR and the community. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you for having me here.
And if Anu, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Anu Luakwa. I go by Anu. I am currently I'm going to be I'm going to be a rising senior soon at the end of high school, and I'm also part of D-Rock. I'm part of the D-Rock group, which is known as Discovering the Realities of Our Community, which is also a youth focused group that works on um, alcohol, alcohol and drug prevention program for our youth at least.
Yeah. So the presentation today is on keeping the current ordinance that we currently have, which is number 2019-34, which is the ban of the sale of electronic smoking devices and e-liquids in unincorporated Contra Costa. So this ordinance was implemented in 2019. And so further on in the presentation, we're going to explain what it is and why we want to keep it. At the next Board of Supervisors meeting on the 27th, they're going to decide whether I'm keeping it or removing it. So what is the ordinance? So the ordinance prohibits the sale of tobacco vaping products, flavored tobacco products, and menthol cigarettes, and it prohibits the sale of cannabis via delivery in unincorporated Contra Costa. And the ordinance was passed on December 19, 2019, which the coalition helped pass, as well as other prevention coalitions throughout Contra Costa. And then what are the risks of vaping? So I put right here some facts about the health risks of vape devices. So right now, like e-cigarettes are more popular than any other tobacco product among youths. And in 2015, the US Surgeon General reported that e-cigarette use among high school students has increased by 900%, and 40% of young e-cigarette users had never smoked regular tobacco. So youth are skipping smoking cigarettes and going straight to using vaping products. And here are some facts about the health risk. There has been an outbreak of lung injuries and deaths associated with vaping. As of January 21st, 2020, the CDC has confirmed 60 deaths in patients with e-cigarette or vaping products use associated to lung injuries, and over 2,800 hospitalizations. And then some more health risks. So the National Academy of Science in 2017 identified the risks of substance harms from cannabis use, which includes like the risk of car crashes, the development of schizophrenia and other psychosis, and also like worse respiratory systems, which includes chronic bronchitis. And then also just consistent use of cannabis use can lead to cannabis use disorders, which is a form of addiction. And then, Anu, would you like to say your part?
Yes. As a youth, I feel like our voices needed to be heard when it comes to something that really affects us. I casually see a lot of students normalizing vaping at school. I would see students vaping in the school bathroom, or trying to hide the fact they're vaping on school grounds and outside of school. I would also see students ask each other, like, where did you, oh, if the one was vaping, one would be like, oh, where did you get that? Where did you get it from? Because I've been looking for one all the way. And what flavor is that? And so on. It was kind of weird watching kids interact with each other, just trying to get a way to get vape and so on. Also, social media has a huge impact on when it comes to vaping, such as the ads that target other youths, and youths posting themselves vaping, and the comments would speak as if it's the most normal thing in the world, such as, what flavor, what brand is it, where did you get it, what type is it, and so on. I know I'm not the only student who feels this way. Thousands of other students worldwide also feel this way. And I actually made a survey to get from some information from my peers and other students. The data I had was asking my peers and other students, do they vape? Majority of them said no. I also asked, have they seen other teenagers vape around them? And all of them said yes, they had. And examples of where they found youth vape, most of the common questions are at school, and it's also, and most of them also say it's common between age of 14 and 16 because a bunch of them are probably just getting high school. And a lot of them also said middle school. And a lot of them also said on social media and parties and at home. But mostly, it's mostly at school. I also asked a question saying, when did you first see a student vaping? Like what age or what grade were you then? And they said when they were 14, someone said in 7th grade, it was mostly 7th grade till high school. And I asked what they thought about vaping. Most of them said it's toxic, and it's like smoking a cigarette. A bunch of students said it was stupid. A lot of people said it was also disgusting and how it really affects a lot of students' mind. And someone said, a couple students said, I don't like it, but if others do it at all, I can't really tell them if it's not good or not, because I actually understand that, because if you tell a bunch of students in our time that it's not good for you and so on, they won't really listen to you. They'll be like, oh, it's vape. It's not as strong as alcohol. And it's something we hear all the time. And more comments is, it's not healthy, it's very bad for you, it's disgusting, not worth it, and so many more. And it's mostly vaping, it's toxic, and how it affects us as youth is most common in here. And what I also asked was, why would you want vaping away from our community? Most of them, I'm just gonna go by a bit of it so I don't take up everyone's time. Most of the comments were saying, because corporation takes advantage of minors with advertising false safety flavors, etc. A bunch of students said it could potentially damage your lungs. And some people said to make sure to stay healthy. And also, one of my favorite comments is how they said it kills people and it's just as bad as cigarettes, but with flavor, which makes it more addictive. So I won't go over the rest of the comments so I don't take up your time. But I also have an example. I had a friend who struggled with vaping, and we've always had this conversation before. She wanted to stop, but she couldn't because she was addicted. She tried and kept working hard on trying to get rid of it and trying to be able to go healthy and clean. I'm really proud of her for quitting and getting support from me and my other friend who were always there for her. And she constantly says she regrets ever vaping. And this shows that there's not a lot of support for a lot of students who are actually trying to stop vaping. They know that most of them know the consequences, but most of them just don't have enough resources to be able to stop vaping, or trying to get more motivation other than, oh, it's bad for you and so on. A lot of students have to deal with that, and that is something that's mostly common within our youth. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And I just wanted to give some more facts. 1 in 3 of our 11th graders have used vape products, and national wise, 1 in 4 high schoolers are vaping. And as Anu said, they are targeting towards, they're marketing towards youth. So they look like candy, they're sweet. Especially there's an oversaturation of vape devices in low-income communities of color. And just recently, Juul settled a lawsuit in Northern Carolina for $40 million for marketing its products towards children. And then why do we want to uphold the ordinance? Well, when less vaping products are sold in our community, young people have less access to these products by purchasing them at stores or via family members or friends. And also this ban sends a message to the wider Bay Area as well nationwide, how we can like make public policy that help reduce youth access and availability to vaping products. And then how can you get involved? So we're asking community members to submit a letter of support. We already have one drafted. And we're also asking community members to set up meetings with their board of supervisors to discuss their concerns regarding the change or ending of the vaping ban. And also the next board of supervisors meeting, which is July 27th. If you guys can come and give your public comment in support of keeping the vaping ban. And then this is my coalition social media page, our Instagram, our Facebook, and we'll be posting a draft of our letter of support. And also there's my email if you would like to email me to ask more questions. Also our coalition meets every third Wednesday of the month at 4 p.m. Our next coalition meeting is next week. And if you guys would like, the whole community is welcome to come to the coalition meetings and give their opinions or to learn more about what projects we're working on, feel free to email me. And here's where we got all our information from. And if anybody has any questions, we're open for questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Jacqueline or other two students from the council? Actually, we're gonna switch out of this view. Okay, I don't see any questions from the council. Are there any questions from the public? Okay, I see two hands. I would also, Jacqueline, look in the chat. There is
There's a
some
few
interest.
questions.
Sona, she's asking for your email, but we will go to the first question. Tanya?
I don't have a question. I would just like to say, I really appreciate this information. I believe the team and the students really make it very real for us as adults to know that you are going through that, and your advocacy is great. Continue with what you're doing. I look forward to getting the information and sending in at least a letter in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I think I'm really against this now that you've explained it to me. I think that I find a huge amount of problems with this anti-smoking, anti-vaping thing. First off, to say that vaping is as bad as smoking is just simply not as true. You don't have carbon dioxide, you don't have carbon monoxide, you don't have benzene, you don't have the same chemicals that people are inhaling. And I think that there's an adult choice issue here, that you're talking about a blanket ban. I don't see this as protecting young people. In fact, I see it going the opposite way. If you look at you mentioned yourself a series of lung illnesses connected to vaping. Well, you should probably know that those were all underground illegal vape devices that were involved in that. The ones that were registered and licensed were not. As far as that Juul lawsuit, I don't have anything to say about that. I agree they should not be marketing to children. But I think there's another problem with it, is that it conflates marijuana with tobacco, which is very, very different. In fact, if you look at some of the statistics you gave, they were just simply inaccurate. There are fewer traffic fatalities since marijuana has been legalized. There's been a reduction in teenage marijuana use. And moreover, there's the issue that adults should not be penalized just because of the fact that some few numbers of people are out there, using vape pens or providing to youth who are not should have right use to it anyway. Another thing is that when it comes to tobacco, is a different situation because people have a right to smoke marijuana and to inhale marijuana here in California under the Health and Safety Code. And so you're talking about basically impinging upon people's rights. And I think that while I think your intentions are good, and I think that some of the information you're getting is inaccurate, but I am very, I'm glad you brought this to my attention because I think this bill should be repealed. Thank you. That's a comment, it's not really a question.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment or a question? Jackie, thank you very much for you and for your students coming.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate you sharing the information. It's It takes a lot of courage to come and present, and we definitely appreciate you doing so. Thank you.
That brings us to you, James.
Yep. And I have just a few things to read from the most recent county COVID-19 update. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention updated its non-binding K-12 school guidance on Friday. That would be Friday, July 9th, emphasizing the importance of in-person learning and indicating that fully vaccinated students do not need to wear a mask in the classroom. Some other things that I wanted to mention from the most recent talking points, COVID-19 rates in Contra Costa in the state have steadily been rising since the economy reopened a month ago. As of Monday morning, it would probably be the 5th. As of Monday morning, there were 4.6 new cases per 100,000 people. On June 15th, it was 2.9 cases per 100,000 residents. The increase in cases is primarily among unvaccinated residents. Antioch remains the epicenter of local epidemic, representing 25% of new hospitalizations representing 25% of new cases. Also of concern is the increasing number of COVID hospitalizations. As of Monday morning, 43 people with COVID were in local hospitals. There were only 25 hospitalizations on June 15th. And one question that came into the community, I know there's been some interest in our unhoused population. The county is tracking vaccinations of unhoused residents. As of Friday, 2,295 homeless individuals, Contra Costa have received at least one dose. 2,032 of those are fully vaccinated. The caveat they mentioned is that there's an estimated 6,170 people in Contra Costa experiencing homelessness at some point in the last 12 months. And these are just the persons that have touched the system of care in the past year. So that number could be a little greater. And if we were to look at them as a fraction, this would mean that the vaccination rate the partially vaccinated rate is about 37%, and the fully vaccinated rate is around 33%. And because Antioch is the local sort of epicenter for the pandemic, there are, for the current outbreak, there is an effort being made to reach folks out there. And that is all I have in terms of the COVID update. And I will take any questions. Go ahead, Melinda.
So my congregation, along with a number of other congregations, regularly volunteers at the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program at the Super Center. And I've had volunteers ask questions about whether or not there's been vaccinations happening at that location. Have you all had the mobile van out there or done specific outreach at GRIP?
Not that I know of, but I can ask.
Yeah, because some of my folks weren't sure whether they wanted to volunteer there or not, if there hadn't been some significant vaccination happening there. It was hard for me to imagine that if you were trying to vaccinate homeless people, which I know you are, that you wouldn't have hit GRIP at one point or another. That would seem like an obvious place, but it'd be nice to know, James.
Will do. I will ask. Tom?
Yeah, James, I just had a question based on this. Are there any plans for opening up the library for these meetings? I know you and Linda are doing a great job with Zoom, but I'm tired of it.
Yes, we will be transitioning back to in-person meetings. Hopefully that will begin in September. You will know more as I know more.
Oh, okay. Just wanted to get it out there.
There are just a few people that are ready for in-person meetings. The vast majority of folks want to keep this element, the online element. Are there questions for me from the public? Mr. Plute, I see you. Go right ahead.
Yeah, just regarding that, if you transition back to in-person meetings, will you keep Zoom as a side option or just completely go back to in-person?
We will have to come up with some way to broadcast the meetings this way.
That would be great.
We are working on that.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm not in the area and I can still attend and all the different meetings. I feel it's really great to have that option. I've been to more meetings this year or the last year or so than ever before. Because sometimes you're faced with like a meeting in Richmond where it's an hour driving round trip and you don't make it, but it's a lot shorter drive on Zoom. So thanks.
You're welcome. If there are no other questions for me, I did want to mention one thing. For those that live on or near Pebble Drive, the traffic engineer has gone out and done the count. They did it between meetings, and we will be scheduling to meet with the residents of Pebble Drive, some of those perpendicular streets, White Sands Court, that have been concerned about the speeding that Officer Leviste was talking about. Trying to do some enforcement there on Pebble Drive, but we have the traffic counts in there. They're downloading the information, and we will be meeting with those residents, hopefully before our next meeting. And with that, we are down to discussion items. Do you want to discuss formation of the Public Safety Committee? Melinda, were you interested in that? Do you want to talk about that? How you feel about that, if you want to
I think, as you know, John has a working group starting up in this area, and I think I want to see how that goes first. And whether or not we need to do something formally through the MAC. And I'm not sure what the exact scope. I mean, public safety could be a very big bucket.
Right.
So the question is, there's obviously lots of issues that people are interested in that. So I'm not ready to recommend it yet and try to start it up. I think I want to see how this working group goes first that John's putting together.
Good to go. There are other council members who wanted to weigh in on that. I know it came up at a previous meeting, I think maybe in May. So I just wanted to circle back around to make sure. But I tend to agree with Melinda on this. Okay, then we can get to public comment. And there are 2 people that reached out to me for public comment that wanted to have a little extended time. Darcy, I see your hand up. Did you want to make a brief comment, or if you don't mind me probing a little bit?
Yeah, no, brief is fine.
Okay, only because the folks that reached out to me were going to be a little long, and I didn't want to, but go right ahead, and then we will go to Will, and then Sona, if you are still here and have things you wanted to mention about your task force that we didn't discuss earlier, that would be the time for that. Go right ahead, Darcy.
So I would just want to update everybody on our efforts to come together as a community and think about the solutions we'd like to see for our homeless population, especially in the high fire areas where, the whole community is at risk for fires from their camping out. And we came together the beginning of June. A group of us came together and we reached consensus about our values, our concerns, and our solutions. And that's just the beginning of trying to get the input of the larger community. We want to get diverse views and share our ideas and see if we can develop these solutions further at the town hall. So we're going to have a town hall on August 7th. It's going to be a Saturday. It's going to be from 10 to 12:45. It's going to be with John Joya. So what happens is that when you register for the event, you'll be asked to take a survey, and the survey will be the points of agreement we came up with as a group, and you'll vote on those, and then you'll add your own ideas, and then people will vote on those. And that goes all the way up to the event itself, where we'll pick the 3 top solutions, the 3 main solutions, to develop further at the town hall, and then get John Joya's feedback for those solutions. So basically, our top priority was to, remove or relocate the homeless from the high fire areas. And then make sure, how do we keep them from coming back? Because that happened last year in September, a fence was built around, and they're just, they just go back. So that seems to be a big concern of a lot of people. So, it's a huge issue. Everybody realizes it's a huge issue, but we have a good model for trying to come together and see if we can get some practical ideas. So I'm going to put a link in the chat, and I'd love it if people would come and take the poll, take the survey, and see what happens.
Thank you. And I was wrong about those other public comments. So if anyone from the public or anyone has a comment that they'd like to share, you've got 2 minutes now. And then after that, we will roll into information items from our MAC members. Okay. Do any of the council members have information items they'd like to share? We do have one subcommittee. If Mickey wants to, you can go to subcommittee reports. Go ahead.
Thanks, James. I won't keep you very long because we are going to have a meeting on Monday of our subcommittee, and you are all invited to join us at this meeting. James will be issuing a Zoom invitation very soon. And the focus of this meeting is going to be our participation in the National Cleanup Day. And we want to focus our efforts to get the El Sobrante a community-wide event. Often they are more targeted for a certain coastline or a certain area, but my vision for this participation in National Cleanup Day would be El Sobrante wide, and getting people to clean up their areas right near where they live or work or where they worship or whatever. So the general idea will be to be creating teams of different groups, people from businesses, from churches or places of worship, apartment complexes, neighborhood associations, different kinds of entities that we have in our neighborhoods that we would like to get broader participation and have this as an opportunity to educate the public about the resources available, but also to take ownership of their areas as an ongoing kind of project that they will start with this day on September 18th, which is the day of National Cleanup Day. It's going to be a major outreach project, and I'm hoping that many people on this call will join us for this meeting next Monday and start thinking now about who are you associated with? What kind of groups can we get to create a team that will take responsibility for cleaning up an area, a certain area on that day, and hopefully continue on beyond that day, but just to get people excited about it. There's a group of volunteers already that especially from next door, and there's some people on this call who are actively participating in our group cleanups. But we need more people to do this because, you know, it's just so important for people to take more responsibility, take pride in El Sobrante, and keep our neighborhoods beautiful and clean. And so we'll be talking a lot more about this, but I'm hoping that people on this Zoom call tonight will start thinking how they can participate with us on September 18th to make this a successful community-wide event, raise the consciousness of our residents here. And, you know, it's just very exciting to me that we can have this focus and have an opportunity to really make an outreach to the whole community here in El Sobrante, and that we need to all take responsibility and take ownership for keeping El Sobrante beautiful. I'm going to be meeting also with Nancy Skinner's office tomorrow, where I want to be talking about Gavin Newsom's new proposal for Clean California, where he will be paying people to clean up the freeways, the roads, the different things as well. And, you know, paying homeless people, veterans, different people who need jobs to actually do this and to make California more beautiful as well. But I'm thinking that maybe we can even have a press conference with this, possibly with Supervisor John Joya and Nancy Skinner. Maybe we could get Buffy Wicks as well and other people to raise awareness, because it's really unacceptable, the amount of litter we see on our streets and the dumping that's going on. So we need to get more proactive and get more people involved with this. So please join us on September 18th is that, but this Monday, July 19th, we're going to have a meeting. We're going to really get more into how we're going to make this a successful event, what kind of outreach we can do, because it's going to take a massive outreach. But I know a lot of you on this call are already associated with different groups, and maybe you can sign up as a team to target a certain area and participate. And that's where we're kind of going with this one on Monday's meeting. So I hope to see many of you there.
So
And
Helen,
if you're
did you have
not,
a question for Mickey?
yeah, if you're not already
So Helen has
signed
her
up to
hand
get,
up.
if
I
you're
want
not
to see if
already
there's a question
signed
for
up,
Mickey.
yeah, if you're not already signed up, James, how could people sign up to get that announcement about our meeting? And
They can send me an email and request to be added to the illegal dumping subcommittee distribution list. So anyone that's interested, I've put my email address in the chat a couple times, but shoot me an email and I will add you to the list. And so, Hayla, you had your hand up. Do you have a question for Mickey?
I have a comment, actually. I have a
Oh,
suggestion. Mickey, you're doing great job. Thank you so much for doing this and spearheading all the efforts in cleaning El Sobrante. I just want to suggest, please extend the invitation to the neighborhood councils. It should be the entire area. You cannot have a clean El Sobrante at the midst of, you know, a messy Richmond or faulty Richmond. Richmond and El Sobrante in 94803 should be together on this. So in the future, let us plan bringing them together. And I'd like to have a chat with you about this next week about, you know, having both Richmond and unincorporated El Sobrante working together on this. Thank you very much. And James, I'll be in touch with you regarding this as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, it's not just El Sobrante proper. This whole area is El
Exactly.
Sobrante, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you too.
So that concludes our subcommittee reports. Agenda items or speakers for upcoming meetings. If you have any suggestions or ideas, feel free to email them to me. And Mr. Sirios, I saw your questions in the chat. I will have to follow up with the planning department. I have not heard back about the artistry project. But I will ask him when I find out. I will give you a call, sir. And I'll make an update certainly at the next MAC meeting when I know more. If there are no other questions or items of business, I think we are concluded for the evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. And you can always shoot me an email if you have any questions. I prefer to get emails in between meetings, and don't wait a month to reach me at the next meeting. Do contact me in between, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, James. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.